Right, guys. Hi. So this is these are some videos on chapter 21, of your textbook, and that I believe is page 392. Right, and this is the last chapter, and it's a very conceptual chapter. I mean, when I say conceptual, you just have to it's got a bit of thinking in it, and a few things you almost have to accept. But I will try and prove and show you why these things are true, but because naturally they don't occur. You don't naturally see them. So it's almost like a model. You almost have to work with the model. Right. So this is chapter 21, page 392 of your textbooks. You do need your textbooks as I'm going along to work. You can't quite do this without your textbook. It is a class in effect, just that it's a video. Okay, so we're talking about decision-making situations, and the first thing I want you to really write in your textbook, whether in pencil, it's yours. If it's not yours, I want you to write I want you to write short-term decision. I want you to put the word short. I want you to be thinking short-term, short-term, short-term. These decisions that we make in this chapter cannot happen over the life of the product. They just can't. Because over the life of a product, we must think of fixed costs. Well, when I say over the life, at least initially at the beginning of a project, we must think of the fixed cost. I mean, that's the definition of break-even. How do we cover our fixed costs? And I highlighted it. I talked about it last time, I think in my previous video. Once we've covered our fixed costs, we're free. This is really an introduction. So the key point, what I need you thinking at the back of your head all the time is that we are in a position, because you see, business engineering has to think, and we'll see examples. Business engineering has to think along the life of a product. A product can live like a human being, if you like. A human being is born, whatever, and they will grow, and then they will mature and be sensible and not do ridiculous stuff. And it's unfortunate that they will leave us. And if you like, I don't know, whatever you believe in, reincarnation, or if they're going to heaven, they'll do one or the other. You'll just join the earth. I don't know. Anyway, so in terms of introduction, the ideas here that we've already looked at is break-even. Now remember, this is management accounting, these 3 chapters. And I've already talked about this idea of selling or sales, and then variable costs, and then contribution, and then fixed costs, and then profit. This is how people in management accounting like to lay stuff out. They don't lay it out as we do in financial accounting, where you have sales, cost of sales, gross profit, overheads, and then net profit. This way, they can't quite see what the products are. They can't quite see, I mean, they just don't know. They can't control the costs, if you like, because our essence as management accountants is being able to split costs up, to look at their behaviors, fixed and variable. You could kind of relate, see similarity, but they want to know, I can do break even, I can do what ifs, do I sell it for more, do I drop the price? They can break it up into the different products they're dealing with. So that's where you're going with this type of layout right here. That's where you're going. Which is why every time you're thinking management accounting, you're thinking this layout. You're thinking this layout. So they clearly separate fixed costs. Separate that. Because they're also thinking, what can I do about these fixed costs? What can I do? Or how can I take advantage? The key point is this layout is really essential when we're in this area. This layout helps us to think of break-even. Right? We did that in the last section. This allows us to make short-term decisions. And when I say short-term decisions, we'll see it's all short-term technically, right? I want you to be thinking short-term. So this layout allows us to see break-even. We know, because I've separated clearly and I've sorted out my fixed costs, I know when I've broken even. Gave you the example of the fries in the last example. Once I've covered my fries, I can sell for whatever I like, as long as in fact, once I've broken even, the only important cost is your variable cost, which is the cost of making an additional unit, which is your marginal cost. So if someone says to you, what is marginal cost? Well, it's variable cost. We just call it marginal costing because we're thinking about the future. We're thinking about making decisions. I mean, the actual cost itself is a variable. When we say variable, we're saying the behavior of the cost. But when we talk about the decisions involved, we're talking about the cost of making an extra unit. Internal business analysis, how creative can we be? I'm selling different products. What can I do with these products? And we will see a couple of examples. How can we optimize our resources? And those are the kind of questions we're asking. Again, I've given a similar example. Once I've finished thinking about my fixed costs, once I've covered them, because that's all you're trying to do, how can I get creative? And I mean, I talked about this. Sorry, this is an example here. It says, how many products am I selling? Can I create a loss leader because I have a product out there that's covering my fixed cost? And I'll come back to, hopefully I'll come back to this, and I'll use the example of a restaurant. And hopefully when I get to a clean screen, I'll talk about it. But just to show you where I'm going here, products live on a life cycle. They do, right? So at introduction, you're very much thinking about break even. So your thinking process is very different. Here you're thinking, you're obsessed with your fixed costs. As I said in the other video, you're obsessed because you know that if you don't get it right and you can't cover your fixed costs, you might get chucked out. And your business might even die even before it starts. Now, once you see some growth and you're quite mature, you now have regular customers, you are known in the market, you know you will cover your fixed costs, so you can start to mess around a little. You can start to focus very much on the actual, if you like, on the variable cost of making the product, and think of how you can actually gain more market share to maintain your position in the market. And then at some point, if you like, you start going to this place of decline. So, I mean, if you've covered your fixed cost, you know that, okay, if we just have to let the product peter out, we might allow we have to reduce the selling price. But as long as we're covering our variable cost, you might bring it close to the variable cost, but you're not worried about the fixed cost because there's no way you'll be using a product in decline to try to break even. It's absurd, right? You must have a new product coming out, which is why I then take you, I've not brought it in. Let's do this together and bring in this slide that I think is very exciting. I'm just going to bring that in right now whilst I'm videoing. This will be the first half of this, because this is an important picture, if you like, to bring in. Let's bring in download. Let's bring in download first one. Let's bring this in. Right, and this is what I mean right here. I was going to bring this in. I thought that there's something called a Bcg Matrix. If you haven't done it with Roger, you can ask him about it, but I'll tell you about it in a second. And I'll create. You might have done it. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. I'll duplicate this. Get rid of this. Insert again. Insert the other picture. And I think this was download 2. Let me see what download 2 is. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's bring that in. So, what am I saying? I've just finished talking about the product life cycle. They're very much related, these ideas. And let me just bring this here. Okay, let's just go back very quickly to this. And let me just make this bigger. Great, sorry about that. Okay, so I've talked about that. Now, generally, every organization will have a range of products, right, that it sells. So it'll bring its product into the market, if you like. It's coming in and it's thinking, okay, you know what can we do? Invest a lot of money. Is it going to grow? And it starts to do extremely well. So we talk about that product coming in, if you like, maybe, so to speak, I don't know. There are names for this. People call this a problem or problem child. And then it becomes a star. It's doing really well. Everyone knows the product. And because everyone knows the product, it's a star. Then, of course, you have competitors coming in to get some of what you're getting. And then, of course, you kind of, well, at some point, you just sort of settle in the market and you become a cow or a cash cow. Not literally. Become a cash cow. Now you're just making money. And at some point, it's time to go. You got to let it go. So sorry for all those you have pets. We call these dogs. It's time to go, kill off the thing. Or you really invest a lot of money into it again to start all over. But that's usually rare. So there's nothing so dissimilar, which is why you can look at this one. It kind of takes you along that idea of you're introducing something, it's a problem, we call this problem children, and then it grows, then it matures and makes you money, and then it dies. So you must be thinking, when it comes to costing, you must think or pricing, you must think in the same manner as well. You must think that I can't price something the same right through its life. I must change the pricing. So Yeah, so I think that's the first thing I'll talk about and sort of finish there in this very first introduction. I just needed a clean page. So very quickly, just to kind of summarize what I'm saying, the idea of marginal costing is a short-term idea. I am no longer thinking about my fixed costs. I have covered my fixed costs because these type of decisions are typically made after I've broken even. Right? These decisions are made very much here. Marginal costing decisions are made from here, not here. Here, I'm trying to break even. So I'm thinking about my fixed costs all the time. Once I'm past this area, I covered my fixed costs. So marginal costing decisions are made post, if you like, covering your fixed costs. And I gave you the bear example, right? We start looking into the future with marginal costing. Yes. What is the marginal cost versus what is the marginal benefit of making something? So the idea, the principle of marginal costing says, forget the fixed costs, forget what's happened in the past. Let's focus now on the future, right? And let's focus on the variable cost of that item. Okay, great stuff, and I will see you in the next video.